Hello, this week in Module 10, we're going to discuss the educational law and the ethics of teaching. Our learning objectives are to describe the legal responsibilities you have and what you're liable for, identify protected rights of teachers, discuss legal rights and responsibilities of teachers in school districts, and ethical responsibilities that you have. Teachers have several legal responsibilities and can be held liable if they fail to meet them. Students and teachers both have certain legal rights and responsibilities, and there are laws that both protect and limit teachers' academic and lifestyle freedoms. First is the responsibility for the well-being of students. It's important that you are able to ensure students' physical, emotional, and social well-being, create a safe environment, protect them from harm, eliminate foreseeable dangers, exercise reasonable caution and foresight, and protect yourself from harm. Use reasonable force to protect self or others. Courts ruled that teachers are reliable under the following conditions. Teacher has a duty to protect the students. Teacher failed to use reasonable care to protect the student. Reasonable care depends on the students, the situation, and the activities. Teacher's carelessness led to a provable student injury, and the student sustained a provable injury. Protecting students' well-being while at school, safe classroom for students, safe from emotional or social threats, and if a teacher doesn't take action, they can be held liable. Protecting students' well-being outside the school. Teachers are legally required to report all known or suspected cases of child neglect or abuse. You are legally protected when you're reporting. As far as threats from a student, teachers are obligated to report any information regarding threats of harm. Teachers are responsible for students' academic progress. Educational malpractice or failure to adequately educate is a recent area. Failure to learn, is that the same as failure to teach? Court rulings have had no workable standard of care for teaching, and it might be forthcoming, however. You have a responsibility for maintaining confidentiality of students' academic performance. Teachers must abide by FERPA, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, that was enacted in 1974. It protects privacy records of students' educational performance, gives students and parents unlimited access to official student records, and restricts others outside the school system from your records or other students' records. You have a responsibility to protect students' legal rights, including due process. Students have property rights to have properly, that's a messed up line there. Students have a right to receive an education. You cannot be deprived of access to education without due process. Freedom of expression. Students have a right to free expression unless expression disrupts the work of school. School-sponsored publications can be censored by school. It's your duty to keep students safe, provide proper and appropriate supervision, establish and implement rules for acceptable behavior, establish and implement consequences, take reasonable precautions to prevent injury. Probably this is an area that teachers don't willfully have issues with, but I've got to run to the restroom, so let me just run. My kids will be okay for a minute or so, but that's exactly when something's going to happen. So if you need to leave your classroom for any reason, it's always a good idea to have someone else, a custodian, a teacher assistant, someone to come stand in your doorway, if nothing else, for just a minute while you run and take care of whatever business you need to do. You must keep all your student grades confidential. Keep your grade book secure. Don't respond to parent requests for comparison to other students. Don't announce or post students' grades. Don't talk in public about students' performances. I'm old enough that I remember in college when the professors would post grades on their door with social security numbers next to them. And then that was like, no, can't do that anymore. Freedom of expression is not an absolute right. Teachers can speak out on issues of public concern as a citizen, but not as an agent of the school. Academic freedom is limited, but not absolute. You have to consider the age of the students, the educational relevance, and community standards. Teachers have the right to select appropriate teaching materials and methods, but courts consider the following when ruling on challenges: purpose and educational relevance, age of the students, quality of material, and effect on students. And as we know from recent court rulings, there's a lot more parental and state and local involvement in teachers' classrooms today. Teachers' use of copyright materials. Teachers may make one copy for class use. Multiple copies must meet fair use test. Is it short? Is it spontaneous? Does it have cumulative effect? And to describe that a little bit further, brevity, the materials, an entire poem of 250 words or less, printed on no more than 2 pages. Longer poem excerpts, fewer than 250 words. Articles, less than 2,500 words. Spontaneity, recently published work related to a class topic, too little time to request permission. And cumulative effect, this copied material is for one course, taught by one teacher, no more than one copyrighted piece by the same author, no more than 3 excerpts from the same anthology, etc. And those are described a little more in detail in your text. Typical hiring process for teaching positions starts with 1 or more interviews. In some cases, a candidate is asked to teach a model lesson. Teachers should read contracts carefully before signing. Tenure, if your state still has it, protects teachers' academic freedom. Probationary and tenured teachers can be dismissed under certain circumstances. Qualifications for teachers. You must have licensure. This is required in all states for all public school teachers. One criterion for highly qualified status required by Nickleby is teacher licensure. Short-term waivers can be available for some high-demand fields. We are seeing more and more often people from other fields like accounting coming to school to teach math. And there are some alternative licensure processes that go along with that. The licensure is granted by the state's educational agency. Requirements vary state to state, but generally include a competency test, like the praxis. School district hiring processes. The district assesses the needs, advertises the vacancies. Applicants submit their resumes and materials. District invites applicants for interviews, makes an offer. The candidate accepts an offer and signs a contract. I was privileged for several years to work at the job fair that my county would have, and they would send a group of teacher leaders from each school. We would all have our own table with decorated in our school colors, and our principal gave us the authority to, I'm going to need 3 great math teachers. Go find me some math teachers, and I need a new music teacher. And we were basically in competition with the other schools to get the best candidates possible. And when we would find one, we'd pull them aside, we'd do a quick interview, and then we would call the principal and say, I'm sending this person over to talk to you. And it was quite a fun activity to be involved in. Contracts might specify a teaching assignment and other duties, should indicate your pay and benefits, may list any conditions of employment, and your policy handbook can be contractually binding. So even if you say, well, I didn't know that was in there, it's required by your contract. So make sure you're reading that faculty policy handbook. Breach of contract can be reneging on a signed contract. Employers in breach when the representative changes the terms of the contract or violates a provision, and the employee is in breach when he or she refuses a position after signing a contract. In the state of North Carolina, you also can lose your teacher license if you quit during the school year and you don't give 30 days notice. That is required to retain your teaching license. Most of these contracts are fixed terms, or you get a new contract every year. Some districts might have continuing contracts where you're automatically rehired. But I think most of North Carolina has fixed term contracts. Tenure. And tenure is an evolving subject, but typically it means permanent employment, that we're going to hire you every year. It typically follows a probationary period, only applies to a specific district, and does not guarantee a specific teaching assignment. Could be that we're going to have you teach again next year, but you're not going to teach English, history of English literature. You're going to teach American literature. Termination of service. Tenured teachers have an expectation of continued employment, and you must follow due process in termination of tenured teachers. It has a right to a fair and public trial, and laws are clear and explicit. There must be dismissal for cause, job-related. Can't be based on your private life. Might include subordination, immorality, incapacity, inefficiency, conduct unbecoming. Could be due to deficiency, that you lack the necessary knowledge and skills. If you get ready to get a job as a teacher, you're going to, of course, prepare for your job interview. Interview for several jobs. Try to role play an interview with a friend or a colleague, a student peer. Prepare answers to typical questions. Definitely think about the questions you're going to be asked, and come up with answers that you will have, so that you aren't completely blindsided by every question. And research the district and the job before the interview. Dress appropriately and ask questions. And you can prepare those in advance too. There are 6 characteristics of ethical thinking in teaching. And ethical dilemmas present a lot of problems. Opportunities to ethically influence the lives and characters of students exist in the everyday work of teaching. So some of those characteristics of ethical teaching include appreciation for moral deliberation. Situations all have an element of right and wrong. We need to be able to see both sides of a story. Empathy, so we can feel what another person is feeling in an ethical, troublesome situation. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Knowledge, collect as much information about the situation as you can. Reasoning, when we reason about an issue, we reflect systematically by moving step by step. Courage, ethical action often requires courage to act in what we understand to be the right way. And finally, interpersonal skills are very important in that. Some types of moral reasoning. Ends-based moral reasoning focused on the result provides the greatest good for the greatest number. Rule-based focuses on principles and rules. And care-based focuses on feelings and the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Ethical dilemmas occur when the right behavior or action is not obvious. Different moral principles compete, and a teacher must identify, weigh principles, and make a decision. Ethical dilemmas can challenge belief systems, force deep consideration and prioritization of principles, and clarify personal moral guidelines and provide practice. So, if you are faced with a moral dilemma, you want to first gather as much information as you can, identify the moral principles that you are considering, and weigh and compare principles, and focus on which action provides the greater good. The everyday ethics of teaching. Teachers ethically influence students by providing a personal example, establishing the classroom climate, promoting ethical dialogue, and looking for curriculum and social opportunities. And that's it for this week. If you have any questions, please let me know.